full damage control mode after one of its customers was forcibly removed from an overbooked flight. In the face of plunging shares and boycott threats, the airline's CEO apologized and called for a full investigation of the incident. NBC's Tom Costello has new video taken in the moments leading up to the confrontation.
I'm busy and have to work tomorrow.
Tonight, new video taken moments before Sunday's altercation on a United Airlines flight.
No, I'm not going. I am not going.
We now know the passenger is 69-year-old Dr. David Dow of Kentucky. Fellow passengers say Dr. Dow and his wife at first accepted United's offer of $800 each to voluntarily give up their seats for crew members, but returned when they realized they wouldn't get home in time for work.
I fly from LA, I take a long flight.
Moments later, airport security, not police officers, dragged him out of his seat.
My God, what are you doing?
The video of Dr. Dow appearing unconscious and bloodied quickly went viral. In China, a critical market for United Airlines, social media exploded on concern Dr. Dow was singled out for being Asian, with calls for a United boycott. Today, after first blaming Dr. Dow for the incident, United Airlines CEO Oscar Munoz changed his tone in a statement saying, "I deeply apologize to the customer forcibly removed and to all other customers aboard." Munoz is now promising a full investigation with the results by April 30th, saying, "I have committed to our customers and our employees that we are going to fix what's broken so this never happens again." The flight attendants union applauded.
This was inexcusable from start to finish. It was not right. It's being looked at. Procedures are going to be changed. Training is going to be better.
Meanwhile, it turns out Dr. Dow has a checkered history in Kentucky. In 2004, he was convicted of trafficking and prescription drugs, placed on probation, and had his medical license suspended. He resumed practicing in 2015. But it's United's handling of the way he was treated on board Flight 3411 that has led to an all-out public relations disaster.
Now, for more on this, let's bring in Bryn Weingart. She is a marketing expert with Weingart & Company, joins us now from downtown Toronto. So, Bryn, this has been quite the disaster for United Airlines. What should companies in this position do when this sort of situation arises?
Yeah, you're right, Lois. It has been such a disaster. And I think, the 6 things that you're supposed to do, things like making sure that you get out in front of it, making sure that you talk directly to consumers and customers, making sure, as an example, that you're specific, not vague, personal, not impersonal in your messaging, making sure that you have a social media crisis plan, making sure that your leaders take responsibility, making sure that you're actually speaking directly to your customers and that you appoint someone who is the face and who will be able to speak to those customers. I think we've seen them fail on a lot of those accounts. And this, of course, just picking up through social media. It's become even more viral, not less. And that's really because they haven't managed it as best they could.
Right, and we saw several statements come out, the apology at the end there, but really, this was a case where the CEO may not have acted fast enough, quickly enough. What does this say about how the company deals with the public?
Yeah, it's such a good question. It's not the first time either, right? A couple of weeks ago, we had the issue with United Airlines where there were girls, apparently not wearing appropriate clothing to board a plane, which in that case was leggings, so they were covered. There was the famous and viral YouTube video about, United breaks guitars in 2010. So this is not the first time that we've heard from, public relations issues or disasters when it comes to United and their treatment. The truth is that they're very large. They're a very large company. They've become sort of ubiquitous in the American Airways, especially. They, as an example, have more planes in the air at any one time than Air Canada and WestJet put together. So they are a huge part of the American airline system. And I think that's really, they've allowed that to go to their head in a lot of ways. When you get really big as an organization and you're part of an oligopoly, you start to monopolize the airways, you start to monopolize your market, you forget where you came from in a little bit of a sense, and you don't end up with the right checks and balances to make sure that you're doing the right customer treatment.
So then let's talk about the impact then, because today we've already seen part of that. We've seen a lot of tweets, a lot of reaction, but we've also seen share prices going down. I believe it was around $300 million lost to the value of the company. How much more could this affect the company's bottom line?
Yes, that's just in terms of, the speculation in their stock price. Now imagine that they're going to start to lose market share, which is a different metric altogether, which is associated with share of wallet. When consumers go to buy, they have very good, almost perfect competition for what they buy, and especially in the airspace, especially in the U.S. And so they'll be able to buy other alternative flights, other competitors to United Airlines, and avoid United Airlines if they feel like it. The longer this goes on, the more likely that is. So what we can expect to see is some dip in share price, certainly over the next quarter. We'll see how that lasts. And then what that allows ultimately is to hit to their bottom line. If they're not selling tickets, they're not earning profits.
Now, there are other companies that have gone through PR disasters before. They've been able to recover. What kind of lessons can United take here?
Yeah, it's such a good example is in Canada, on Canadian soils, Maple Leaf Foods, when they had that listeria outbreak, they did exactly those 6 things, right? That ultimately spurred them to put in place a social media crisis plan. They got out in front of it. They appointed a spokesperson. They made their apologies. They did what they had to do. They were specific. They weren't vague. They were personal. So they allowed that they took the rap for what it was that they did and demonstrated very specifically how it was never going to happen again, the measures they were taking to make sure it never happened again. And of course, we've seen that in other examples, for better or worse, right? Volkswagen, their latest emissions scandal, they didn't do very well with this. Johnson & Johnson with their Tylenol scandal, probably best in class in terms of how they treated it as well.
Okay, we will have to see how consumers decide to move forward with their dollars. Bryn Weingard, marketing expert, joining me from downtown Toronto for this. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lois.
Still.
So it seems like the same old story with big business as usual. Screw up today and just apologize for it tomorrow, and beg our forgiveness and regain our business. You know, like, why did United Airlines and so many of these other airlines, in fact, overbook that plane in the first place? They know how many seats they have on that plane. They know how many crew members they have to have on each plane. And yet they decide to get greedy and overbook it, assuming that some customers are just simply not going to show up for their flights. And the thing is, even if customers don't show up for their flights, there's a good chance, like, many of those customers will not get their money back, because many of the tickets that you buy on an airplane, quite often they're non-refundable. And they just, they're thinking with their greedy selves, just thinking of lining their pockets further with our cash by just overbooking this flight, assuming that people won't show, that not everyone will show. And then when everyone does show, they turn around and very abusively and forcefully remove people from this plane. A 69-year-old man who's a doctor, who has patients that rely upon him to be treated for medical conditions. And that's the way they treat him. It's just absolutely disgusting. And as you saw by that news report, it's not the first time that United Airlines has conducted themselves poorly. I live in Canada. I've never flown on United Airlines, but you know what? Based on all the crap I've heard about United Airlines, I don't believe I ever would fly on United Airlines. Like, they better have some ridiculous seat sale, like, I don't know, $25 from Toronto to Los Angeles or something ridiculous like that. Because with that kind of customer service, they don't deserve to be such a large airline with so many customers. They just continue to treat their customers like crap. It wouldn't surprise me if they treat their employees like crap as well too. Just knowing that people need to fly to get from A to B, and that they might not end up paying a very big price for their poor customer service. Well, I do hope some people boycott United Airlines because of this. And it's just the overall way that big business just takes us for granted that I find quite disgusting. I remember several years ago when my dad and myself, we we had to fly from Toronto down to Jamaica because my grandmother passed away. We got to Pearson International Airport. We had 2 tickets pre-booked with Air Canada. Lo and behold, we get to the airport and they give us this crap that they're both standby tickets. Now, when my dad booked these 2 tickets, he was not informed as such. He was told that these are 2 tickets to get on that specific plane, leaving at that specific time. And they're trying to tell him they're standby tickets. So, given that it was his mother who passed away, whose funeral he had to be at, and it was my grandmother, my dad rightfully raised a stink. Fortunately, we did end up getting on that airplane, and we did end up going down to reaching the funeral in Jamaica on time. But he had to raise quite a stink. It's not like in that flight it wasn't just overbooked by 4 or 5 people. Apparently that particular flight was overbooked by 100 people. How the hell do you overbook a flight by 100 people? They should have laws against that kind of crap. Do they not realize that people need to get from A to B in a timely fashion? And that people pay lots of money for these tickets? No, it's just absolute BS. I have another story about Air Canada as well, too. Air Canada's horrible customer service, a horrible customer service experience I had with Air Canada. I'm going to share it with you in another video very soon. And I'm also going to be doing a video about Walmart as well. Walmart. Hard to live with and hard to live without. I don't know. I guess time will tell whether or not United Airlines cleans up their act.